Hi, welcome to the Town to Learning demonstration series. This is where we go around the world and meet with the world's best learning system providers and get in-depth demonstrations. Today's no different. We're out to Overland Park, Kansas, and we're going to meet with CD2 Learning. CD2, show us what you got.
All right.
Absolutely.
All
Absolutely. So
right.
what we're looking at here, and John, what I love to talk about too is look, we want to make things simple, right? We want to make it straightforward. So organizations who are recognizing they need to do better, right? They don't want to just deliver training and wipe their hands of it. They want to truly drive impact. So what you're going to find is everything in the system is directionally focused to drive towards that end goal. And so that's what we always have in mind. Go ahead, Scott. I'll let you go ahead and take from here.
Yeah, perfect. And so what we're going to showcase is some examples of learner experiences when we're working with every client. Part of onboarding and implementation is, going through and understanding exactly your use cases from different departments and different roles. What are you going to need to utilize? We have a robust system with a lot of different offerings, but we're going to tailor that experience directly to each of your learners and each of your administrators. So we're going to go through some different learner experiences of what we're seeing from this standpoint. Starting from a dashboard, we're going to make things really easy to give you access to exactly what's in front of you. So what am I expected to do today, and then what's coming after that. And then Gil, if you want to take us through some of these dashboard components, and then we'll jump into administrative areas as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So first and foremost, everyone's been logged into an LMS, and the first thing they recognize is, oh my gosh, I have no idea where to start. There's so many things going on, right? And so what we're seeing here is, hey, I have right at my fingers, I know exactly what I need to do to be successful, right? And so I log in, I've got my courses, I've got any notifications that can be pushed out across all groups and within a network, within an instance. But CD2 also has the ability, one of our key focuses, as we've talked about, John, is extended enterprise, right? So being able to segment out the overall infrastructure of the system to allow for some uniqueness down to the group levels. So what's great about this is that these notifications, they can be segmented by group, class, as well as being pushed out site-wide, which is fantastic. We also believe in gamification, obviously. It's not just the interactive content sort of aspects that we'll talk about later today, but also how do we make, micro-credentialing through certifications? How do we make people feel like they're earning things just by participating along the way? So with our milestone badges system that we have built in native to the system, our clients have the ability to take advantage of those pre-configured milestones, but we also have the customization pieces that they can dive into as well if they'd like to make their own reward mechanisms too. As we scroll down a little bit further, as you can see, certifications, this is key, right? Whether it's internal training, external trainings for your community or customers, certifications are key. And how do you drive people through those processes? Well, learners want to be able to see what certifications they're enrolled in. So at a glance, we can see all of those. But we can also see where are we at in the progress. How are we stacking up in our micro-credentialing along the way, and what is left to do? So at a glance, I can see exactly what I needed to continue to be motivated to move forward in my certification process. And if I ever want to expand that up, I can always access those. What certifications have I earned? Download, print, share those to social media, as well as being able to at a glance see them here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let me back you up 1 second. Tell us what is the difference between micro-credentialing and certification, just to make sure we're on the same page as you.
Yeah, so what's great about the certification process is we have the ability for micro-credentialing along certifications as well, right? And so you can see whether it's micro with different credit hours or even fractional too. It just depends on what our clients want to push out there and make that experience along the way. And so as you're working through a certification process, there can be different requirements, different steps that can earn you different credentials along the way. So it can all be flowing towards one big certification as you're earning different milestones along the way.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And what we're seeing here, the last widget we haven't touched on before we get into the fun stuff is going to be our resource widget here. So one of the big differentiators, you've heard me say it a couple times, is I really coach our teams that we're not just an LMS, right? we're that sales engagement, or we're the team engagement tool and the workforce development tool, but we're also a content management tool, which is really important. And so this resource library here, this resource widget, is essentially the greatest hits into the content management system that's built into this instance. And so every single one of our clients gets to take advantage of this, pair important documentation, videos to actual learning outcomes, but as well as store that in the system too, so that it essentially becomes a knowledge vault for their communities or the people going through the system itself, which is really important these days when tenures are decreasing, John, right? We got to be able to tie those, store that knowledge, and be able to pass it to the next people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
All righty. So without further ado, as we scroll up here, we're going to go through some different examples, and I'll kick it to Scott to talk through some of these course examples here, but really want to walk through, showcase some of how seamless it can be. But these courses themselves were built in our course authoring tool. So give a little bit of a learner view of what an end product can be for a client too, as they're creating courses.
Yeah, so I'm launching into a really simple course example, and then we're going to go through more of a robust onboarding package. But everything that we're looking to do is to give flexibility on how we're delivering content, not to make things overwhelming. So this is all built within native course authoring tools, and I have some simple tasks assigned to me. This is my first day on the job. I'm asked to, I can see over here, I'm going to watch a video being introduced from our CEO. I'm going to download and acknowledge our employee handbook. And then we're going to go and fill out a couple of different forms. So this is pulling in a couple of different ideas of how we might structure and configure some of the different activities as we're thinking about learning experiences. And then what we're going to see on the back end of this, upon completion of this one, this would be an example that I would consider as a micro credential, my first set of activities. This is going to launch me into the next stage of my activities.
Mm-hmm.
So CD2, what we give people the ability to do as well, John, what we'll see through these is not only having linear learning pathways, but also dynamic too. So we're going to go through a couple of examples. So as this is going to be a prime one, is as we move through this example, it's going to stair step us into the next stage based on how we complete or how we interact with the system. And so this is going to be a linear progression, but we'll showcase some different examples of those too, which is really exciting. As we're looking at here, we've got our video recording from our president, Deanne Wanger, at within NBS here at Nelnet, which is fantastic. What's great about these videos, and we'll breeze through some of these examples, but you can lock these down to where you can't fast forward if you'd like to. You can't move on until you complete these, which is great for compliance purposes. But also, if we notice, just launching into the video, the course themselves, no new tabs, no new windows, John, right? That it seems simple, but that's a really big, from a user experience standpoint, that's really important. We don't want people questioning, where do I need to go next?
Mm-hmm.
All right, while we're on the topic of next, we can move on to the next activity here we have underneath this step. And so we have the associate handbook. Again, we can have this be whether it's just, hey, I want to offer this out, attach it and source control that to that resource library that's built within the system. I can require a download here. I can even require, hey, I need the learner to acknowledge that they're seeing this through a toggling system. Or maybe even some of our clients, what they utilize these documentations for, after you get to the bottom, there may be an assessment at the end of there for a quick knowledge check it before you move on to the next activity as well. All of this is capable within the system itself.
And I'll point out here some of the examples that we're showing in this initial segment. This is Nelnet branded. It's because we're using our tools and using our platform for our onboarding experiences. So these are things that our employees and our sales reps are going through as they're hired on into our organization.
Cool. Yes. Absolutely. And this is a native tool that's unique to CD2, right? Everyone talks about how do we drive community-based learning? How do we drive engagement? Well, this is an amazing tool that we utilize, a lot of our clients utilize just to do that exact thing, right? And so what we're looking at here, and we're having some typing issues, Scotty, but as we continue to go through here, this is a fun way where we can utilize the collaborations tool. In this case, we're asking, it's a required activity in the actual learning journey itself, but we also have free flow discussions that can just be happening through a discussion forum board that is external of the actual course. And so it's an amazing tool to drive collaboration. How do I ask important questions of my learners depending on what role they're in? We see this used We see this used, John, in a lot of different ways, like fun activities like here, icebreaker scenarios for new hires to collaborate and meet their new team. But also we see it in sales. Hey, here's a common objection, or here's a question someone asked me recently. How would you answer this? And allow the group to discuss it. To even leadership training with scenario based. Hey, ask the hard topics, right? How do we what is our steps and procedures when there's a policy violation? How would you handle this as a new cohort of future leaders, right? And so this is a unique tool that can be either a required activity in a course, or we have discussions that can be at the group level, so departments, or at the cohort level, or even if you want to create social groups, you have that ability to do that within the system.
All right.
All righty. And the last step here, as we're continuing to go through, we do have a native form and survey building tool within our platform as well. And so you're able to, whether it's anonymous-based form gathering or if it's going to be, non-anonymous based, we're allowed to have that as an activity within the system, or if it's just a form fill out later in the site too. Looks like we're having some technical difficulties here, but as we continue to go through there, what's great about the system is that you have the ability to build those forms, toggle them as anonymous or toggle them as non-anonymous based for different information gathering, which is once that is submitted, it will be on the employee record as well.
And we'll showcase a little bit of that in the course building tools on how that's set up.
Absolutely.
So simple examples, and then as we can complete those, so that's where some of the mapping comes in, right? Of, okay, when I complete my onboarding task, where do I want to branch next? Do I earn a badge for completing my first task? Now, take me into my first week of onboarding tasks. So we can build some of those linear progressions, and then also start showcasing some of those opportunities to do prescriptive learning. I wanted to take this opportunity to show some different examples for course building activities in a more robust onboarding package. So what we're having our associates and our employees do, and a lot of our clients are utilizing our course building tools, are to build larger curriculum sets. So I want to build an entire experience of pulling in a lot of different resources. So this is an 8-week onboarding guide that we're going to have our employees go through, where starting week 1, we're going to do things like communication is super important. This is a collaborative experience that I'm going to go through as a new hire with my supervisor. So we're always constantly emailing and communicating updates to both of them from different lenses. So when I'm starting day 1, welcome Scott to Nelnet. We're super excited to have you on as part of CD2 learning. And here's what to expect. Here's where you're going to get started. Here's some of your tasks for week 1. And if Gil is my supervisor, he's also going to receive an email along each step of my journey, but it's a little bit more targeted to him. We're going to send him manager resources. So as I'm progressing through my onboarding track and I'm starting to learn more about product and I'm going through specific tasks, we're keeping him in the know and in the loop as well. So Gil, when you're having your one-on-one with Scott this week, here's some things that you probably want to cover. Here's some resources and tools for you that are at your fingertips. But this is pulling together a lot of different content and activities. So we're going to pull in videos, we're going to pull in course modules, we're going to do forms, assignment downloads. And as we're progressing through, and then this model, we're going to learn about our culture at Nelnet. We study all the different business units, and then start getting specific into week 2 and week 3, learning about CD2 learning and learning about the LMS and L&D market. And then going into some of our features and benefits and how that looks. And then that's going to progress into, by week 4, let's start putting this into action. So we're starting to build a cadence of, at this stage, we want to really kind of understand, what do I know right now? I'm going to start this week by taking an exam, trying to make sure that I understand my product knowledge. And then I'm going to go through some specific training on, okay, how do I give a product demo? What are the specific steps for that? So we have some courses and modules that are built out specifically to do that. But the section that I wanted to start highlighting is this fail-safe environments, where we're giving an opportunity of, okay, before we're pitching the product demo to live prospects, let's practice this. Let's watch how this is done from a couple of different angles. So we have some product demo examples on my dashboard signed in as. We'll see right here, we have an example of giving a demo, and this some of the things that we're going to go through from a product demo experience. So something that a new hire can watch and start taking notes from. And then as I progress forward, I'm asked to practice that. So at this stage, we're going to ask them to record yourself. So do a screen share and start recording yourself doing the product demo. This is somebody that we have on our team, and they're at week 4, they're starting to practice this product demo, and they're going through some of those same steps. And then as they're doing that, they're submitting this for review and feedback. So when I am submitting this, it's not just automatically complete. It goes into a cycle to solicit feedback for my manager. So starting to take in some of those same collaboration tools, but really build it on skill-based information.
So John, this is where, can you imagine when we were coming up, training how to be new sales reps, if we had the ability to have a safe fail environment like this, where we didn't feel the pressure to go out and we didn't feel the pressure for the role-playing events in person, right? But we could do the same thing and get the same out of it and try and over again and submit those into this learning environment here to get direct feedback from my supervisor or a subject matter expert. It's a powerful tool for sales, for leadership development. Even we see a lot of customer service organizations use this as well to test their talk tracks as well.
Wow. Everybody's soft nowadays. Back in the old days, you just got slaughtered out on site.
Oh yeah. Sink or swim,
That
baby.
was your practice.
That's right. Yeah. Sink or swim.
No, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I jest, of course. But this is always, as a recovering LMS sales guy, this is always the hardest part is with practicing. How do you practice? Where do you get the time to practice? You got to do it at sales meeting. Everybody's watching. It's just always clumsy. You never got enough of it. And this is a way that you can just constantly introduce and reinforce practice, really always. I mean, for every new product, for every new upgrade, you can force it through everybody. And that's really a much more impactful way, I think, to start driving your sales force for sure.
Well, you're exactly right. And on that note, right? And so whether you're training internally or externally, this sort of methodology can be really, really impactful, right? Especially think about it from a customer extended enterprise perspective or customer education perspective, where you're looking for ways to actually engage with your end customers too. And so maybe this is a way, what we see this quite a bit is used to actually engage with your customer base. Also, if they're a partner and they're a reseller partner of your products, make sure that they are talking about your products in the right way and you have an ability to engage with them. So it's a really, really powerful tool to not only drive repetition and retention of information, but also an ability to engage across your internal teams or externals as well.
Okay.
And so what I always love highlighting, and Scott really kind of glimpsed over it here, but I really want to drive this home, is that this is truly a workflow tool, right? It's a workflow that we're working down hand in hand with my instructor, my manager, and the learner all in one flow, and information's constantly being passed and we're participating together. So if you noticed, when we launched into this, we didn't have approval that this step was completed. Right. And that's because we hadn't officially gotten the thumbs up by our manager. And so you have that ability to work towards an end goal together, submitting information, giving approvals along the ways as a group rather than just one person. Right. So driving engagement, driving in community-based learning. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Scotty.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll transition it back to Scott as we're working through here too. To continue to push through some of these examples of our platform here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to transition in a moment over to some administrative tools. A couple of things I want to touch on before we get there. So from the learner perspective, so just toggling through again some of the different menu items. Again, they're going to have access to their resources in their libraries, opportunities for those discussion boards. So that can be in context of a learning plan and a learning curriculum, but also have just community-based areas. So whether that's amongst some of the different groups or departments I'm connected with, or even form social groups. We see that a ton with a lot of our customers who are doing an extended enterprise model to deliver content to their network and to their customers. I can join different groups and participate in different conversations and collaborations. And then in addition to obviously having access to your reporting library and then your certifications as you're earning those. The area I want to make sure just do a little bit of demonstration around is our course catalog. This can be used in several different functions, from internal employee training. So for frontline employee training, we're going to see these for registrations, continuing education. We can start taking some of the information we're tracking about the learner in their career track and then prescribing content to them. So this is a model to where they can start getting access to what some of that information might be, right? I can register for courses that are applicable to me. But when we start flipping this forward and extend an enterprise model, we have a native e-commerce solution. So this is a revenue opportunity model for a lot of our customers to start taking their content and their training and delivering it to their customers, to their member base, whether that's online learning, asynchronous learning for live in-person events, virtual events. We have clients that are doing a lot of subscription types of training, and really starting to collect a revenue base from that. So definitely a key differentiator that a lot of our clients are taking advantage of.
Great.
Perfect. And this is a really powerful tool. What I love about this, Scott, as you transition back in, what I love about this is that as you are, whatever you purchase, right? So whether that's a single course or whether that's a bundle of courses, what you purchase is how we're going to configure your experience on the site, right? And so you're setting those up as an admin, saying, hey, with this course comes these resources and documentation, which is just really setting up the learner for the best experience, right? So how do we make that streamlined? How do we make sure that we're adding as much value in for your customers as they purchase, so you can continue to engage, get the data, but also make sure you're showing off your good materials as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then when they buy this moves back over onto their dashboard then?
Absolutely. Yeah. Based on what they register for here, purchase, whether it's, free registration for a live event, we can support, to even dollar figures as we're seeing here. Whatever they purchase or register for through this portal will automatically, after they complete that registration or purchase, will automatically update on their profile. And I can easily transition back to my dashboard to see those after purchase by just navigating through the dashboard button up top in the top right. One thing to call out as well is that this storefront doesn't have to be behind a login, right? So you don't have to give access to people behind a login to be able to access this storefront. This is an example of that, but we have many clients who will utilize the storefront as a front-facing driver for their clients to come purchase, to gain access to the portal itself and receive their credentials to log in. So this can be whether in front or behind a login page. All righty.
So I am excited. We are blessed to be able to showcase one of our clients' example sites. So we've been working with a client, MindView, for several years. And they have given us permission to showcase some of their content in these types of demonstrations. I want to pull over and just talk a little bit about their use case, because this drives a little bit more into skill-based tracking and prescriptive learning. So just really fun things that our team gets really excited about, and just different models of how to approach learning. So MindView, they're an organization that measures mental strength aptitude. Where am I at right now based on different topics? And the program starts where I'm going to take an assessment. If you've ever taken, like an Enneagram, Clifton Strength Assessment, it's a similar type of model where I'm going to answer a series of different questions. And then the way that this program works is I'm going to get an overall general score of, kind of where I'm sitting at. That's based on their algorithm, but it's driving down into more specific core competencies. So they have their model driven down into components of my drive, my willpower, my resilience, and my integrity. And I have specific scores along each, and each one of those even break down into subcategories. So right there from the dashboard, I get some really cool insights. I have some drill down reports that's going to tell me what these need or what these mean. And then, within each of those core components, breaking those down into subtopics and, what are my scores on these? What are some things that I can work on? So some great insights and analytics. But then from the training perspective, we're taking that information and prescribing, a recommended course curriculum plan based on my specific scores. So based on where I am at today in my latest assessment, here's some courses and content that we're going to recommend to you. So no longer the linear path of learning, that we're prescribing opportunities of where to go next. So it's a great opportunity of different ways that we're going to build personalized learning based on where somebody's at. So we see it in models like this, and then also a ton in kind of really just job skill training of measuring skills, not just my assessment score, but measuring my skills on different key components, and let's recommend how I can get that next step to level up.
Yeah, and this is really a key foundation of what our platform's built on, John. So I mentioned our founders, Rich and Denna Bartlett. Before CD2 Learning, they started a company called ATI Learning that really took online learning into the nursing world, right? And their whole thing was, let's understand the skill set. What are the skills that these nurses need? Where are they at today? And then so that we aren't training on what they know, let's train on the gaps and help them to grow, right? And prepare for their boards. Well, that foundation is what CD2 is built on as well. So competencies, skills, skill development is what we're really structured to help with and truly make learning individual. Well, in the traditional sense, for years, that's actually been really difficult. So everything that we're building, that we've built and that we're building towards, is making skill development, making, the upside down funnel, the competencies, the pathways to the content you're building, the courses you're building, making that really easy. And so that's kind of our methodology here, is understanding how do we understand the end goal so that the content's driving towards the outcomes and the pathways, and the pathways are driving towards the skill sets themselves. And this is a prime example of that, is based on what I'm doing in the system or what my assessments are and how I'm growing. It's constantly updating and prescribing the new pathways based on your weaknesses and where your gaps are, so you can continue to drive growth. Right. So what we're seeing here is from a manager's view, to be able to get data insights on their specific team's results, on where their teams are at from a strength perspective, as well as being able to drive down into really detailed tool sets of their team's growth capacities. So what we're seeing here is actually our showcasing a little bit of our abilities to have business intelligence built into our reporting mechanisms here. So we take reporting two different ways. Here's one of them, through business intelligence. And the client was able to create the infographics that meant most to their specific use case. I want to be able to show team success, but I also want to be able to show team growth too. And where were they and where are they at today? And what is the delta between those? And so that I can constantly be reaffirming the good work that my teams are doing. And that's what Dr. Brian Davidson with MindView really wanted to showcase in this system here.
Cool. So tell me, how much of this is stuff that you can do yourself, or this is this required basically custom dashboarding? I mean, I can't see where the line would be with this example. What do you think about that?
Yeah. So in this example, we did help them to utilize this tool through our integration with AWS QuickSites, but all of our clients have access to, if they are looking to build these integration or build these dashboards. Everything that we're building towards is we want to be able to enable our clients to build their visions. But as we mentioned before, we are a partner. We're in the trenches and we help clients to execute. And that's just, they have a team around them to help them be successful. And so there really isn't a line, right? Because we're a partnership together. But they do have the tool sets to be able to go out and create these images, these pathways, set the competencies. That's all capabilities that our clients have today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great
And
question.
so, thanks. So, is there a concept of competencies and then skills are underneath it, or are you using those terms synonymously?
Yeah, so when with competencies and skills, I'll let Scott handle that. But yeah, the competencies are the skill set bases that they're setting themselves. So Scott, why don't you talk a little bit about how they set these at the mind view level and those details?
Yeah, absolutely. And we see this a little bit right here. So in our system, like the term that we'll see in the interface, we're going to call them sub-skills or subscales. And these are starting their groupings. And so I have my core competencies. Again, these are their main categories for drive, willpower, resilience, and integrity. And then those are leading down to subset skills. How we're building those in the tool sets, it's a simple parent-child relationship. So I'm setting up my main categories of subscales as those 4 key categories, and I'm setting up the layers underneath that.
That's okay.
And then these are attached to user input. So in this case, it is the assessment that's put in. So we're attaching each one of those questions to a specific area. So some questions are going to measure my grit, some are going to measure hardiness, and then based on that output, that's where the data comes from.
Cool.
But
So
these don't have
skills
to
and
just be,
questions,
yeah,
skills and skills, sub skills, questions, and content are
yep,
all essentially tied. Is that right?
correct. Yeah, that was where I was going with that. It's not just assessment questions and the answers to those that are tied to the outcomes. It's also the content that a learner is going through as well. Also add points, if you will, towards those skill sets, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so for them to get skills in the future, is it based on consumption of content or does it come back to assessments again?
Both.
Both.
Both, John. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
And
as
then
we
the
right.
other layer,
consume
the other
content,
layer to that is your career track.
right?
So that's where we're tying those back into those certification pathways. If I'm now promoted into a new position, that will also generate a new set of skills that I'm working towards.
Nice. Nice.
Absolutely.
And these skills, sorry, you got me on a vein here because I run into this scenario a lot. And so if anybody's listening here has this scenario, they'll appreciate it. Those same skills then could run across employees and customers and partners, for example. And customers and partners may need some of the skill and sometimes they don't. You know, does it work
Absolutely.
like that at the overarching level, but different for different groups?
Absolutely. Yeah. So you can absolutely set those based on the groups or the role types. And this is one of the circumstances that we're seeing. MindView uses the system to train internal employees, but they also use this as extended enterprise, right? So this is their platform, their portal for their customers. And so this is an example of a mock customer. And so yeah, absolutely, that sort of competency can be spread across internal and external usage.
Mm-hmm. And like Perry Mason, I'm always trying to not ask a question that I don't think I know the answer to, but I don't know the answer to this at all. The the next thing, do you have that these skills or sub skills are needed at different levels for different roles? Like maybe you only need it at a light level for this role and a heavy level for this role.
Yeah,
Do-
exactly. And so that's what Scott was alluding to as well, is that at the subscales or the competencies can change as you grow in your career, right? So as you're moving forward in your career set, some of those skill sets could change as what you're working towards and improving on. So absolutely.
All right. Cool. Nice. Nice.
Yeah, yeah. Good questions.
That
Thank you.
whole big bucket of functionality is a nice differentiator. It's out there in different capacities and systems, but it's on the rarer side in my experience. Like certainly less than 20% of solutions think about skills or competencies or pathways in any type of serious way. So if you're an organization that does, it's a great way to rule out 80% of the competition in a hurry. And
Yeah.
when you're really serious about it, you're thinking about skills, sub skills, differences, in different roles and users and being able to grow and show the gaps and do all the things that you're doing. And so this is a nice bucket of functionality.
Yeah, John, and we hear that quite a bit, not only for like people on our side aren't thinking about it much, but the reason why we do is it L&D not often enough drives towards outcome, right? And so we're always outcome driven when trying to help our clients drive towards that too. And so, but when we start to talk about skills and competencies, many organizations say, I don't know where to get started. That seems like a task, right? And so what we're always aiming to do. We have great tools today, and we're constantly improving those. And so, as we continue to develop our product suites, it's all focused around how do we help you define those competencies, define those skill sets across your organization and role types really easily. How do we help you do that at scale easily? And then how do we have the system learn those over time and continue to learn and refine those over time too? And that's where some new fun technologies come into play too. So
Yeah, cool.
yeah,
Last little
absolutely.
comment on that. The last place that this is really important is in a lot of professional associations, where now that the technology is able to support this level of thinking, I see associations, really creating from graduation to retirement, skill models, skill pathways for their professionals in whatever of the 80,000 verticals there are in associations and in the world. And so they, it's really that path now is 40 years potentially.
Yep.
And you're guiding people through the different layers that would be standard in a career in whatever one of these professions are. And at the base of all of that is this.
Yeah. I think that you're exactly right, is how do we continue to drive forward? And not enough systems, I personally believe, help their clients to paint that path easily and get towards that end goal. And and even ways that we're looking at ways that we can constantly improve there too, right? And technology is a big piece of that. So very excited for what's to come. All right, Scott, let's transition
All right.
into some of the more admin functions. There's a few key areas that we want to showcase in the time that we have left. But yeah, Scotty, take it away.
Yeah. So we're probably just going to focus mostly on some of our course builder and native authoring tools. It's what a lot of our clients are really empowered with, that they can take the content wherever they have starting and they can add to it with a lot of our native course authoring tools. So I'm signed in as a site admin. We'll go through same type of experiences with every client of starting to configure additional dashboards. So if I'm a manager managing people, what is that dashboard experience like? If I'm a group administrator, so starting to do those things to configure snapshots of components and widgets that are going to take me in, again, a directionally focused capacity of where do I need to go next. We're going to focus our efforts on this administration screen. So a lot of different things that I might be doing from here, managing users, setting up group structure, building communication plans, starting to build email communication, and how we're automating that with triggers is a key piece of just any type of implementation of, how are we regularly communicating with our audience, whether it is customers or it's employee base, what does that setup look like? I am going to jump right though into our course builder because I want to spend a few minutes talking about some strategies of what we're currently doing and some exciting updates that we have in 2024 along this focus. So Course Builder is an opportunity for any one of our clients to build their course curriculum plans. And again, working with your content wherever you're at. So whether you have a lot of existing content or you have none, and you want to mix and match some different efforts, what our strategy is to be flexible on how you're going to build those structures, and then also pull in some differentiators on how we want to engage with that content and some different opportunities to do things like debriefing and to get manager input. So I clicked edit into an existing course. This was the example that we went through earlier in the presentation for the sales rep onboarding. I'll mention that you'll notice right up here at the top, I have two tabs. So I have a publish tab and I have a draft. Everything that we're going to do in the system, from course building, from content to form creation, everything is obviously version controlled. Content in courses, it's never static. You're going to need to be able to make updates. And versioning becomes really important for that, especially in course building, because I'm going to have to make changes to the process. So I'm working now in a draft mode to where I can safely make those changes, but not until I hit publish is anybody going to see those updates. And then I'll have a couple of key decisions where I can make, and I can determine, does this go out to everybody? Is this just for new employees who are hired after I make that publish date? A couple of options I can also do with progress based on any new content I'm adding within the course. Some pretty basics for course building. So we have steps and activities. The steps, it's the outline of the training curriculum. So as I click on each one of these, this is set up in a weekly onboarding cadence. I can add new steps really simply from here. Everything is set up to be drag and drop interface, so I can move some things around. And I also have some options based on everything that I'm setting up to determine, like, is this a free flow course? Can I jump around? Do I want a lock sequence? So it is, more of a linear path, and I have to go through very specific opportunities and sequence through the course. Do I want to do different things like awarding badges based on segment completion? And then also starting to build in within each segment, what is the activities that we're actually going through? How do I want to build this cadence in this sequence?
So one of the things I want to point out here real quick before Scott jumps into the activities, John, I think we can all imagine 8 weeks. It's a long training program, right? But what's fantastic about this tool is it allows you to take information, a lot of information and a lot of activities, and organize them in a really streamlined and effective way. So there's a lot of information in here, from watching videos to viewing content to submitting assignments, that's just organized in a very streamlined and effective approach. And so that was one of the big key things here as we worked with our content development team. So we do have that team of content developers on staff and instructional designers that really we came together to consult on taking information from our teams and how do we outline this in the most effective manner possible and drive towards these outcomes that are still digestible at the same time. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and look real quickly at some of our activity lists. So we have a wide range of different types of things that I can pull in, as Gil was just mentioning. It could be very simple things like here's a video or a PowerPoint or a PDF to consume, and we're just tracking, did they open it? Did they download it? Have some decisions around that. Native tools to build assessments, a native lesson builder. You can upload your existing content from SCORM. A lot of different opportunities from here. We're always going to promote a lot of different ways to engage with hybrid learning opportunities. This comes into play actually a lot with this onboarding example. I'm going to go through training, but I'm also going to join some orientations, right? Of maybe people at different parts of the organization that are helping lead some onboarding orientation classes. I want all of that tracked into one cohesive flow. And then even going into some of our other activities to document things for external requirements for certification. And then the role play activity, that was using kind of a back and forth activity for an upload approval assignment. So we're kind of going back and forth from here's your assignment, here's your task, and then building in a cadence of what happens after that. And then one thing I just want to point out real quick, where this example that I clicked into intentionally, it was set up as a workflow. So I have some opportunities to define roles within this. So who has access to do these things? And we see examples where you might have some activities are only meant for an admin or a manager to complete, and some are only meant for the learner. So you can really build a true workflow of different activities through one cohesive journey.
Nice. That's cool. Love it. Love it. Boy, that was a quick hour.
It was a quick hour. It goes by
That was
fast.
a quick hour, and I'm
Holy
trying like
smokes.
crazy not to ask questions, and I'm not doing a great job. Yeah, that's really interesting. Love it, guys. Been maybe 6 months since I've seen the application, in years since I've taken a good dive like this, and I can really see it growing for sure.
Good.
This is nice. Yeah, skill and company piece is nice, of course. This part is really cool of like just separating, your your workflow into these weeks. It's not uncommon. I see that. The part that's uncommon that I don't see is the workflow that has the different roles intertwined with it. And that's the special sauce in this particular thing, in this particular feature set that is difficult to do and not something that you see every day. But the power of that allows really not just the progression of learners through a series of learning activities, but to move them through the organization in non-learning activities too, by bringing in the notifications and the different roles in these pieces. That's not normal. That opens up really just the universe of different possibilities in terms of an onboarding structure, whether that be for employees or customers or partners or partner sales or partner service. I mean, it doesn't matter. It could be endless of the groups an organization does. So in any case, good takeaways that I've seen is that you're a family organization, still a family organization, though you're a part of a much bigger, deep pocket organization. You focus really well on employee solutions, but at the same time, if you can support multiple audiences, internal and external, at the same time, that also plays to your strengths of having skills and competencies and skill-based learning and all the workflow associated around that, and also some strengths around the content authoring and the flexibility of that inside a class or a lesson or things authored externally, as well as pulling in the resources and managing a content management system of all the resources is becomes a very useful system in that it's more than just an LMS, and that it's serving a variety of different functions. All of this functionality and everything that we're talking about is applicable across the nonprofit space too. So you're in any type of professional or trade association, you love skills and competencies, you love social learning and interaction and lifelong and career learning, and that's all what CD2 is structured around. So, got a lot of nice ideal customer profiles. Listening to this would find a home there. And if any of this interests you listeners, I encourage you to reach out to cd2learning.com and you can get more information. You can also go to talentedlearning.com, of course, and we maintain a ongoing profile and independent research on CD2 Learning, so you can see a lot of our productions over the years and how they're growing, and deep information and from that side too. And feel free to reach out to me if you want any personalized consulting or questions. So there you have it, folks. Now you see why this is my favorite series of content. Gil, Scott, thanks for a nice hour of taking us through your solution and what you guys do different. It's very exciting and great to learn, and hope to see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Really appreciate it. It's always a wonderful opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
You bet. You bet.
Thank you, John.
All right, listeners, thanks for tuning in to another episode. We hope to see you on the next. Have a great day, everyone. Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another Talented Learning production. You can find more of our fiercely independent content on learning systems technology at talentedlearning.com. If you want to show your support, please like and share this video and enter a comment down below, and like our YouTube channel. It'd be greatly appreciated and very helpful for us to spread the word. And if you need some independent assistance or guidance in your upcoming learning management system or learning system selection project, please navigate to talentedlearning.com, where you can request a complimentary consultation call with me, John Lay, the lead analyst and founder of Talented Learning. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you on the next.